Hello everybody and welcome back to another EPO video. Today is going to be the first in a series in which I analyze every single House race within a state and then predict the election results. Hopefully I will be able to get through all 50 states pretty quickly. Although I guess now that I think about it, it would probably make more sense for me to group just like a bunch of different states with 1 or 2 congressional districts into just one larger video. I don't think there's enough to talk about in states like Wyoming or Vermont to make them worthy of a video on their own. But I guess we'll see how the series progresses. I am, however, going to start by going down the list alphabetically by poll closing time, while also focusing on the more contentious states first, hence why today's video is on Georgia. I'm also going to keep the basic format of this series pretty simple. Of course, we'll analyze the new congressional map, as well as compare it to the old one, and then point out any significant changes between them. Then we'll take a look at some of 538's metrics for the new map, such as median seat lean, the efficiency gap, as well as overall competitiveness. And finally, we'll get into the part that I am sure most of you are interested in, my predictions. As the series progresses, I will also update the countrywide congressional map and keep a running tally of each party's seats so that by the end of this, we will hopefully have a cumulative prediction for which party wins control of the lower chamber. So with that said, let's get started with the state of Georgia. It played a critical role in the 2020 general election, both in the presidential race and more consequently, the balance of power in the United States Senate. Georgia will once again be at the forefront of national conversation in these 2022 midterms, given that the Senate race there between incumbent Democrat Raphael Warnock and, of course, likely Republican challenger Herschel Walker is one of very few races that are going to decide who wins control of the upper chamber. Now, taking a look at the new congressional map in Georgia, the first thing that really sticks out is the lack of competitive races. In the old map, Georgia's 6th and 7th congressional districts, located in the Atlanta suburbs, were extremely close. They were both decided by less than a percentage point in 2018, as Democrat Lucy McBath famously defeated Republican incumbent Karen Handel by less than 4,000 votes, while in the 7th district, Republican incumbent Rob Woodall defeated Democrat Carolyn Bourdeaux by just 400 votes. Bourdeaux, however, would run again in 2020 and win after Woodall retired, and that was one of just 3 Democratic pickups nationwide. Now, the big change with this new map is that the Republican-controlled state legislature in Georgia significantly altered the 6th congressional district, which is currently held by Democrat Lucy McBath. The district lost its portion of heavily Democratic DeKalb County in exchange for the more conservative exurban counties such as Forsyth and Cherokee. This new configuration shifts the district from one that voted for Biden by double digits to one that voted for Trump by double digits. Therefore, Democrat Lucy McBath has stated that she intends to challenge incumbent Carolyn Bourdeaux in the Democratic primary for the 7th district, which has become also significantly more Democratic in the new map, but more on that later. Georgia's current congressional delegation has 8 Republicans and 6 Democrats, but the shift in the 6th district has essentially swung a seat in favor of the Republicans, giving them an expected 9 seats to the Democrats' 5. And according to 538, Georgia's 2nd district is now considered highly competitive, and they give it a partisan lean of D+4, compared to D+6 in the old map. However, Democratic incumbent Sanford Bishop has represented the 2nd district since 1993 and has received at least 59% of the vote in 5 straight elections. Also, both Cook Political Report and Zapato's Crystal Ball give it a likely Democratic rating, and therefore I believe that the term highly competitive is not very accurate. Otherwise, not much else has changed with this new map, but as you can see, it has significantly improved the Republican Party's standing. The median seat average, which is the difference between the partisan lean of the state's median district and the state as a whole, is now R plus 14.6, a 2.5 point increase. The efficiency gap, which is calculated as the difference between each party's share of wasted votes, so that means any votes that don't contribute to a candidate winning, is now R plus 15.9, more than double that of the old map. The efficiency gap is essentially a metric to determine whether partisan gerrymandering has occurred, and it has been used by courts to strike down partisan maps in the past. Without going into further detail, I'll make sure to leave a link to a helpful PDF that explains it in much more detail in the description down below. Finally, the last metric is competitiveness, a metric 538 uses that shows the number of districts whose partisan leans are between R+5 and D+5. We already went over it, but they now say that there is only one competitive district compared to 2 in the previous map. With all of that out of the way, let's now get into the part of the video that most of you have been waiting for, the actual predictions for each race. As you may know, the polls will close at 7 p.m. Eastern Time in the state of Georgia, and almost all of these races will be called immediately. Let's go down the list starting with the 1st Congressional District, where I project that Buddy Carter, the Republican who has represented the district since 2015, will win another term. He was reelected with 58.3% of the vote in 2020, and 538 gives Republicans a 20-point partisan advantage there. Similarly, in the 3rd District, I predict that Republican incumbent Drew Ferguson will win re-election to a 4th term in office. 538 has the 3rd District at R+38, and Ferguson won 65% of the vote back in 2020. Republicans should really have no problem holding on to either of these districts. However, in the 4th District, Democrat Hank Johnson, who has represented the district since 2007, was re-elected with 80.1% of the vote in 2020. He has gone unopposed in several races throughout his career because Democrats absolutely dominate here. They've got a 50-point partisan advantage. Likewise, in Georgia's 5th Congressional District, Nikema Williams was first elected in the 2020 midterms with a whopping 85% of the vote, and she currently serves as chair of the Democratic Party in Georgia as well. Johnson and Williams should both cruise to re-election whether they face a Republican opponent or not. The 6th District is one of 2 in Georgia without an incumbent running for re-election. Remember that this was a formerly Democratic-leaning district and is currently held by Democrat Lucy McBath, but it's been redrawn to significantly favor a Republican candidate. Unsurprisingly, she is not running for re-election here, and the Republican primary is setting up to be extremely contentious. The 3 names to remember are Jake Evans, who is endorsed by former Speaker Newt Gingrich, Megan Hansen, endorsed by House Republican Conference Chair Elise Stefanik, and Rich McCormick, the current polling and fundraising leader. Former President Donald Trump is yet to issue an endorsement in this race, and you can certainly bet that it will play a major role given that none of these candidates have a particularly strong advantage as of yet. However, right now my bet would be on McCormick, and that is why he is pictured here. But whoever wins the Republican nomination is more than likely going to win this race and pick up a seat for the GOP. Next up, we've got what is shaping up to be another very interesting primary fight, but this time on the Democratic side, where Democratic incumbent Carolyn Bourdeaux will face Lucy McBath. Whoever comes out victorious is almost certain to win the general election as well, given that the district has a 16-point Democratic lean according to 538. Bourdeaux flipped the 7th District back in 2020, winning just 51.4% of the vote, but it has been drawn as a much more favorable playing field for Democrats in 2022. Personally, I believe that Bourdeaux will defeat McBath because she is running both as the incumbent and will benefit from name recognition, as well as the fact that she can label McBath as a carpetbagger, someone not as well versed with the community as her. Next, I project that Republican incumbent Austin Scott will cruise to re-election in Georgia's 8th District. He has served since 2011 and was re-elected with 64.5% of the vote in 2020, and this district's partisan lean is R+35. The one-term incumbent in the 9th District, Andrew Clyde, will also win re-election comfortably. He received 78.6% of the vote in 2020, and the district has a 46-point Republican lean. Now, the 2nd congressional race with no incumbent is the 10th District, where Republican Jody Hice, who has represented the district since 2015, has opted against running for re-election and will instead run for Georgia Secretary of State. That leaves a wide-open Republican primary, and given that this district has a 31-point Republican lean, the winner of the primary will almost certainly win the general election. Former President Donald Trump endorsed former state representative Vernon Jones in early February, an endorsement that came after Trump pressured Jones to drop out of the Georgia governor race and endorse David Perdue. It's also an endorsement that came to the surprise of many and will likely damage frontrunner Mike Collins's campaign. At this early stage, my best bet is to follow Trump's endorsement, and I predict that Jones will win the primary, but don't be surprised if he comes up short either. Irregardless of all of that though, that will be another GOP hold, as in Georgia's 11th district, where Republican Barry Loudermilk, who has represented the district since 2015, was re-elected with 60.4% of the vote in 2020. He'll win re-election comfortably, and so will Rick Allen, the Republican incumbent in the 12th district. He has been in office since 2015, and the partisan lean of these two districts are 24 and 17 points respectively. Now, after that streak of Republican wins, Georgia's 13th district has been represented by Democrat David Scott since 2003. Currently serving as chair of the House Agriculture Committee, Scott has faced pressure from some fellow Democrats to step down because of his old age. However, he has stated that he has no intention to do so and has also received the backing of House leadership. Furthermore, the 13th district has a 52-point Democratic lean, so Scott will win comfortably in November irregardless. Finally, this is going to be a welcome sight for some, and well, horror for others. I project that Marjorie Taylor Greene will win re-election to a second term from Georgia's 14th congressional district. She ran unopposed, but only managed to garner 74.7% of the vote in 2020. Nevertheless, 538 gives the 14th district a 45-point Republican lean, and Cook Political Report named it the 10th most Republican district in the country. So like it or not, she is almost certainly going to serve another term. Now, you may have noticed that I skipped the 2nd district, and that is because it'll most likely be too close to call as polls close on election night. Democratic incumbent Sanford Bishop is running for re-election in a slightly more competitive district under the new map, and he'll face Army veteran Jeremy Hunt, who has thus far been endorsed by prominent Republican senators Tom Cotton and Josh Hawley. You should certainly expect this race to look pretty close early on, as the more rural areas of the district report first. For closer districts in this series, I'm going to add some key race alerts for dramatic entertainment, but feel free to skip to the end if that's not really your fancy. With 23% of the vote reporting though, Bishop leads by just 171 votes, and this race is too early to call. Before we do anything else, let's take a look at the Georgia congressional map and race classifications. 9 races have been called for Republicans, including 1 flipped seat in the 6th district, compared to just 4 wins for Democrats. 1 race also remains too close to call, and we've got a key race alert coming in from there right now. Democratic incumbent Sanford Bishop's lead has grown to 6,671 votes over Republican opponent Jeremy Hunt. 56% of the estimated vote has been reported, and Bishop looks to be on track to hold on to the seat he has held since 1993, albeit by a much smaller margin than in previous elections. We can now project that Sanford Bishop has been re-elected in Georgia's 2nd congressional district. This was an expected outcome for the Democratic incumbent, as even in a favorable national environment for the Republican Party, this was not a seat they expected to flip. Bishop defeats Hunt by a little over 18,000 votes in a margin of 7.4 percentage points, his smallest victory since the 2010 midterms, where the Republicans won a net gain of 63 seats. And with this call, my projection for Georgia's House delegation is 9 Republicans and 5 Democrats, with the GOP winning in the 1st, 3rd, 6th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and 14th districts, and Democrats in the 2nd, 4th, 5th, and 13th, respectively. The Republicans will also net a gain of 1 seat in Georgia, with the redrawn 6th district swinging in their direction as likely intended by the Republican state legislature. Now finally, let's take a look at the nationwide map, but of course, given that it's the first video of this series, there's not really much to discuss here. So I guess we'll kind of just leave it at that. You can take a look here, but I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Please make sure to follow me on social media, shown on screen and linked in the description down below. Also, make sure to comment your thoughts on this video and the series in general, maybe give any tips or just general comments about how to possibly improve it going forward, as well as just your opinions about the results of this video in the comment section below, and please hit that like button if you liked the video as well. Please also subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you all so much for watching. Check out more content from my channel here on your screen, and as always, tune in next time. EP out.